Today, I'm going to try to beat a Hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Black 2 with only Poison-type Pokemon. Now, I think we can all agree in terms of viability, Poison types are kind of in the middle of the road, especially since in Gen 5 they didn't have the advantage they later got of being super effective against Fairy types. Added to that is the fact that Black 2 contains a whole bunch of Poison-type counters that I can foresee, so I'm very curious to see how we can strategize around them. With a decent number of very cool encounters, I'm hoping we can pull this off. Let's see if we can beat Pokemon Black 2 with only the first Poison type that we find on each route, no items in battle, level caps in place, and the battle mode on set at all times. Now, as Pokemon fans, we all enjoy catching these crazy monsters, yes, even the poison types. But I'd like to introduce you to a whole new monster taming universe, Monotype Go, today's video sponsor. Monotype Go is the first truly free PAL-like survival game that released on October 10th and is available right now on both mobile and PC. They got me early access to the game, and boy, I cannot tell you the sheer happiness I had when first trying it out. The atmosphere is just so vibrant and creative, it really feels like you've stepped into a new world. You can start your adventure accompanied by more than 100 unique and classic pals. The game includes amazing features like being able to build without limits, construct your own base with the help of your own monsters who have their own characteristics and specialties including gathering, farming, and production, open world mounted exploration on your favorite monsters, capturing them, multiplayer battles, and many other fascinating elements. As the player character, you can even battle with various weapons from a wooden stick to the most modern, powerful weaponry, employing the help of your monsters when needed. And the team has truly thought about everything possible to make this an integrated and enjoyable experience. You can even enter servers, making it the perfect game to play with friends. Try to survive together in the open world while defeating bosses and enjoying the fun of fighting and exploring. But don't forget to stay alert, as your friends may turn against you at any time to plunder resources. And I cannot tell you how much I love the monster designs. Some are cute, some are epic, there's just so much creative variety. Start your journey in Monotype Go today. Click the link in the description below and share it with your friends so you don't miss out on the excitement. Hey, wait a minute. I've never seen that before. Professor Juniper has a Kakuna. We could actually use one of those. I need it! Oh man, I will never forget seeing this game intro for the first time back in the day. Just magnificent. Really a step forward for the series. And springtime too? It kind of makes me sad actually. We're just about to head to winter here in Canada. Meeting Bianca at the top of the lookout, she offers us our very own starter Pokemon, and we have an interesting situation here. Using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, I have swapped our starter for a Venipede. The weird thing is, Venipede is available in an area before the first gym, Route 20, but only in the tall grass, which is blocked off in the second part of the route until you get the first badge. So this is the best way to grab our first encounter. I name her Tarvita, and she has a timid nature, giving her plus speed and minus attack. Half really good, half really bad. We're gonna need attack EVs like crazy. And strangely, I noticed our trainer ID is a mere 48. Don't think I've had one that low before, as it can range from 0 to 65,535. Immediately after receiving our starter, our rival, Hyper as Ever, challenges us to battle, and we have a winning option here. The Defense Curl and Rollout combo, which I'll talk more about in a few seconds, but it handily gets us the victory in no time. With Bianca next giving us some Pokeballs, that means our run has officially begun. I'll show you how to use those Pokeballs. No! Hey, do you know about ledge jumping? Well then, watch me carefully. Now, we might have a minus attack nature, but at least we do have lots of options for attack EVs early on, such as Lillipup, Patrat, and Pidove, and I take them on at level 2 so we can get as many as possible without over-leveling due to XP. Arriving at the Flossessi Ranch, Hugh challenges us to battle right beside a very conspicuous piece of grass, and we missed our first Screech as I wanted to try a different strategy this time. So much for that. Fortunately, we did get the poison on our first Poison Sting, but he hammered us below half after lowering our defense. Uh-oh. He then tail whipped again on the next turn, and we barely don't KO on the next before he slams us, and we survive on just 3 HP before the poison comes in clutch and takes him down. Okay, no more experimenting with strategies. I was just fearing a rollout miss is all. At former champion Alder's house, I realized rollout also gives us super effectiveness against fire, a big threat otherwise, but fortunately the two children he makes us battle have Panpour and Pansage respectively, so no problem yet. After Alder falls off a cliff, what is with people in this game? He generously gives us 5 Oran Berries, very important this early in the game. Boo! Gotcha, Charon. It's time for the first gym leader, our former rival in the original Black and White. As it happens, we are the first trainer he's battled as his gym leader, so let's crush his hopes and dreams, shall we? You see, knowing he's going to use workup, I use defense curl against his Patrat, not only increasing our defense, but also doubling the power of rollout if you use it the turn prior. That means we can hit him twice to just a sliver, then tackle hits us for a third before he potions, but a third double power rollout smashes him from there. In comes his ace, Lillipup, and there is a risk of missing here, but by this point we outspeed thanks to our timid nature, and one-hit KO him instantly with a 480 power move. Poor dude's gonna retire after his first battle. Good job, Tervita. Exiting the gym, Bianca has a couple of goodies for us, and actually they're great, so gradies? First is the Return TM, a 102 power normal move at max friendship, and wait a minute, Charon and Bianca didn't talk at all for 2 years after their journey together? Man, this ruins my headcanon. Anyway, she gives us the Sea Gear, which weirdly enough is going to be crucial for a future encounter of ours. With the first badge in hand, we now have access to the second half of Route 20 where the tall grass is. Thanks, game, for making my life difficult. Charon also catches up and gives us Pecha Berries for our poison team. Thanks, Charon. Thank you very much. Arriving in Verbank City, our mom calls us and says, "Wow, Verbank City? There's a complex there, right?" "Yeah, an Oedipus complex." "Okay, I'm sorry, we're not going there." Whoa, okay, looks like we got here in bad timing, got a family issue going on, that's awkward. Not gonna lie, this might be the hardest thing I've ever seen. A girl jamming out in the rain in an industrial city under a giant crane. Keep doing you, girl. Keep doing you. Alright, by this point, we are Gen 5 experts and find the hidden Silk Scarf item to boost normal moves right away. Not that our Pokemon are normies, they just might have some normal moves at some point, come on. Alas, I think that's the first time I've ever said alas in a video, but hey, it's a new me. The Verbank complex is actually the location of our next encounter, and wow, some Gen 5 expert. I forgot there are 2 locations within the complex, inside and outside. I spent forever looking on the outside for our next encounter, which doesn't spawn there apparently. Ugh. Anyway, it ends up being a Coughing, which I catch and nickname Covanta, who has a lonely plus attack and minus defense nature. Why? That's pretty much the worst possible for him. With some training under our belt, I'm feeling pretty confident against the Verbank gym leader, Roxy, our poison-type arch-nemesis. The whole premise of her team is poisoning the opponent so she gets double damage on Venoshock on her second Pokemon, but that can't happen with us. So, I employ our defense curl and rollout strategy pretty safely against her Coughing, taking it down in 3 hits while it hit us to 2/3 health. Then comes her Whirlipede, who is weak to rollout, so an automatic KO, except we miss. Our chain is broken, and luckily our berry helps us back up above half health, and now I go for defense curl again, but she uses Venoshock and gets a crit. No! I have no choice here, so I switch into Covanta, who tanks 2 pretty well before not being able to do like any damage whatsoever. Oh boy. I kid you not, she then crits us again down to 7 HP, and I think this is hopeless. I make the desperation switch into Tervita, and bam, another crit to take her down. And Covanta succumbs to the same fate immediately after that, ending our run. Well, I told you there was a risk to that strategy, and the 3 crits certainly did not help. That's a wipe. Resetting the entire game as per Nuzlocke rules, it's time for attempt number 2. I decided to just add second to our Pokemon names, and this time Tervita the second has a lax plus defense and minus special defense nature, okay I guess, and Covanta a naive plus speed and minus special defense nature, again pretty meh but better I suppose. Taking on Roxy again this time, we actually landed our rollout strategy all 4 times, making it a much easier battle. But I am definitely not relying on that much longer, that was brutal. We do get the Venoshock TM for winning, so there's some dopamine after that ordeal. Oh no, no, anything but this. What if I don't want to experience other lives? A trip across the water has us arrive in the next gym location and the biggest city in all of Pokemon to this point, Castelia. And fortunately, I remembered to rappel up in the Castelia sewers below, as Hugh is technically a mandatory double battle partner. And if you get an encounter down here, he very well might kill it. So I drop him off before any encounters. And what do you know, we find our next one in this toxic garbage dump, a Zubat which I nicknamed Remond. Remond has a serious neutral nature and is actually going to cut off another encounter we could have gotten in here, Grimer, the only place it's found in-game. Very sad, as I do love Muck, but maybe we can do something about that later. Throughout the city, we can get a great haul of items such as the Leftovers, Miracle Seed, XP Share, Rest TM, Twisted Spoon, and another important one which is going to take some further work to get. I love this. This mountain hiker claims to be scared of heights. That's like a swimmer being afraid of water. While we're here, I make sure to visit all the nooks and crannies such as Castelia Park to try and fill up our scene Pokedex as much as possible for a particular reason. While training up for the next gym, we have our very first evolution as Turvita evolves into a much bulkier Whirlipede, quite the cool Pokemon. I also have the Massage Girl here give Remond a massage to help with friendship for his future evolution. Speaking of which, Remond does amazing against the Castelia gym trainers, wrecking them all with Stab super effective Wing Attack, apart from pesky Dwebbles every now and then, which are kind of annoying. Along the way, Remond evolves at level 22 into a magnificent Golbat. And just in time after the trainers, it turns out we have 41 Pokemon seen in our decks, man is it ever hard to reach 40 at this point, which is going to unlock a wicked item, the Eviolite from this scientist, boosting the defenses of our non-fully evolved Pokemon. With that under our belt, it's time to challenge the third gym leader, Berg, the Bug-type specialist. Unfortunately, I did mistime our friendship evolution for Golbat, but I think we're gonna be okay, as a 4-time super effective Stab Wing Attack annihilates Swadloon off the bat. His next Pokemon is Dwebble, actually quite a threat to Golbat, so I switch into Covanta, now holding the Eviolite. It's a long slugfest back and forth, but ultimately Sludge wins us the battle with the help of Poison, with Covanta only being brought to about half. In comes his ace, his fully evolved Leavanny, which can be quite a threat, but not to Remond. Resisting almost all of his moves and having leftovers for recovery, being one of the few Pokemon you can get at this point that can outspeed that thing, landing the quad super effective Wing Attack for the one-hit KO and the victory. 3 badges down and our team's starting to shape up. Side note, but man, is Castelia ever beautiful during sunset. I rarely play at this time of day, so I haven't seen this in quite a while. Great atmosphere. Feel like we need to put on one of those 10-hour chill lo-fi loops. Vibes, man. Vibes. Now, I did something here that I rarely do. I went to the art studio in Castelia as I am greatly fearing an upcoming battle. No, looking at the art isn't gonna help me. You see, there's this guy here who will give you some berries you otherwise can't get if you show him a Pokemon of his desired type. And fortunately, we got a Cherry Berry from him. I also forgot that on Route 4 right to the north, only in Black 2, you can get a Trubbish here. It's only available later on in Route 5 in White 2, which is very weird. We catch her successfully and name her Browning, and she ends up having a lax nature, giving her plus defense and minus special defense. Not bad for a future bulky mon, I guess. Not that it'll help us much for our next battle, but Remond finally does evolve into a wicked fast Crobat, which I can't wait to use later on. Now, I mentioned before how we can't get a Grimer, and I thought you could get one via the Dream World in Entree Forest, but apparently that's only in Black and White, not the sequels. So, for our Dream World encounter, I went for the closest thing, a Gulpin in the Dream Park area, who has a Jolly plus speed and minus special attack nature, and the Gluttony ability to help him eat berries earlier. Cool. Not often we get to use one of these. I forgot to nickname him, but went to the name writer nearby to call him Awi. Well, no more delaying the inevitable. It's time to face a big challenge. Colress, a Steel-type trainer with our Poison-type team. Honestly, there is nothing reliable we can do here. He's immune to or resists all of our types, and all of our possible moves too. So despite the huge risk, I have to go for our rollout strategy. But what about Thunder Wave, Sylph? Won't that ruin the chain? Yes, but here's where that Cherry Berry comes into play, healing us so we can at least defense curl reliably and get our first one off before he paralyzes us again. We do land our second one, but he does outspeed us now, and then we do hit our third one to take that thing down. Whew. Now, a fourth one would be just brilliant here as his Clink comes in, and we do hit it, but it just barely doesn't KO on a sliver, and he heals almost fully. Then, nope, we don't get the final one, which would have KO'd, and he's got a threatening Pokemon at near full health. Ah, so close, yet so far. Now, he technically has a 100 power stab move in Gear Grind, but having used Defense Curl already, I decide to go for it again. I mean, we have no other way to damage this damn thing. We're brought to 2/3 before rollout hits, then we get brought below half and land another. We just need one more as we get hit low, but nope, paralyzed again. Ugh. I now just go for Bug Bite, and we get a miraculous crit to bring him to a sliver. Okay, we're getting in range of a crit here, so I switch into Eviolite Coughing as he uses Charge, and we outspeed on the next turn, and a mere tackle gets the job done. Holy, that was nuts, but we made it through. As it turns out, a girl in a house up ahead wants to see a Pokemon with a speed stat of 160, and I check Crobat, a base 130 speed Pokemon, one of the fastest in the game, and he has half of that. How the hell are you supposed to satisfy her at this point in the game?
This is blasphemy. This is madness.
In another house, this old man says, "There's nothing here." So, naturally, I perform a thorough investigation to find out the truth of the matter. Aha! Citrus berries, the most important item of them all.
Liar!
Well, what's a desert without the Dig TM and some soft sand by a man standing in the middle of a desert with a full suit on? My dude, there's literally sand everywhere. I don't need your handful. Notably, we can also hit up the basement of the Relic Castle, the small part that's accessible, to grab the Rock Tomb TM, which might come in handy. And this is your monthly reminder to start your own shop on Join Avenue. A lot of people skip over it, but it actually makes some of the best items in the game you can't get elsewhere accessible. In the Eastern Gate, we can also grab the Macho Brace to double the EVs we get on our Pokemon, but beyond that, we can also go ahead to the Lost Lorn Forest for our next encounter. It ends up being a Rosalia who I nickname Violia, and who has a bold plus defense and minus attack nature, which isn't bad. I also think this thing might just be our saving grace for an upcoming gym, but probably not the next one. While training up for it, we have a really cool evolution as Aoi evolves into a Swalot, one of the more underrated and forgotten Pokemon out there, but it has some great bulk for our team. Not only that, but Turvita II also evolves fully into a Scolipede right at the level cap. Man, is our team ever developing. Ironically enough, in the gym, Coughing actually does quite well against the trainers, partially because I gave him the Quick Claw to hold, which proved to be quite useful surprisingly enough. After making it through the trainers safely, we arrive at the 4th gym leader, Elisa the Electric Expert. Her team is kinda tough to account for as we're both neutral against each other for the most part, but she has some tricks up her sleeve. Against her Emolga, I lead with our newly evolved Aoi. She Volt Switches right away, after which I get an Amnesia up to raise our special defense as Flaffy then comes in. And I know she's gonna Volt Switch like crazy. Sludge hits her to half as we then get paralyzed by Thunder Wave. Unfortunate, but as she Volt Switches again, our bulk is insane as we land a Sludge on Emolga this time for half again. She then Volt Switches again into Flaffy and we stay paralyzed, but amazingly she uses Takedown and gets a crit that our Berry helps out with thanks to Gluttony, but that gives her recoil damage, bringing her right into the range of our next attack. Beautiful. Emolga then Volt Switches into Zebstrika and Sludge does a quarter but no poison, as she then Volt Switches again, but that allows us to take down her pesky Emolga from half. Alright, no more Volt Switching for you, Missy. I then am forced to switch Aoi out, but she lands Pursuit for double damage as I do, but Aoi tanks it on a sliver. Jeez. In comes Covanta next with the Eviolite, who tanks her attack for a third and lands Sludge, but it activates her Citrus Berry. She hits us again low, and we can bring her to a third afterward. I then send in Turvita, but we survive on just over half by literally 1 HP. Yikes, that range is too close, and she does outspeed even a Scolipede, and my calcs tell me there's a 10% chance she gets a KO on the next move. I can't risk it, so I switch into Violia, but she went for Flame Charge instead of the resistant Volt Switch. Why? I have to switch again now, so knowing the Flame Charge is coming, I switch into Remond, who I would have thought would have no place in an electric battle. With her leftovers bringing us up to full, I have to risk it as she hits the Stab super effective Volt Switch, and Remond tanks it with a third left and lands the Max Friendship Return, and it does just enough to KO. Holy, a flying type saving our skin? I did not see that coming. Oh no, her and her crew are coming to beat me up for winning. Oh, she offered me a shot at being a model. Well, look at me. Ooh. Jeez, look at our team after that one. Just nuts. We are in rough shape. After getting the Fly HM from Bianca, which should be great for Crobat, she takes us into a forest. Bianca, where are we going? Well, alas, Hidden Abilities Skill Link Minccino was born on this day, the bane of millions of Showdown players. Arriving in Driftvale City, we can pick up the Big Root to increase HP gained from draining moves, and also the first move tutor is here who has some great moves like Super Fang, Seed Bomb, the Elemental Punches, and even Gunk Shot. Not only that, but a man here also gives us the Air Balloon item, which is great for a poison team, although it's only one use. And best of all in Driftvale, the dude who gives us the Expert Belt to boost Super super effective moves even further. Let's go. Moving up ahead on Route 6 just to check things out, I realized the girl who gives you the shiny stone is actually accessible. I thought she was blocked off until badge 5 for some reason, but with that we can evolve Violia fully into a Roserade, a monster special attacker with insane power. Having made it through the gym, we arrive at the 5th gym leader, Clay, the ground type expert. And boy oh boy, on the face of it, ground against a poison team is dangerous. But Violia is a savior, being able to one-hit KO his Croc Rock and Sand Slash with Giga Drain. I didn't put the expert belt on since we didn't need the extra power since Excadrill isn't weak to grass, but instead the big root to get as much recovery as possible, and it does just over half, but his berry lifts him over. Rock Slide does just less than half on us, but because we outspeed, we can hit him to the red. Slash then hits us to half before he Hyper Potions, but with the insane full recovery we get, I'm pretty confident we can pull this off. But he outspeeds and flinches us on his next Rock Slide. No way! We were one move from victory, and it turns out it must be a speed tie. What the hell can I possibly switch in now to a Rock Slide and speed-lowering Bulldoze Excadrill? Absolutely nothing, that's what. So here, I ultimately opt for our odds. As Rock Slide has imperfect accuracy, he'd need a crit to KO, and there's a 50% chance we outspeed, and we do win the speed tie, winning us our 5th badge. That got way more chaotic than I thought, but Violia clutched the victory. With that win under our belt, we now get access to the Pokemon World Tournament, not only giving us access to the move relearner, but also getting us 2 Rocky Helmet items too. Fighting it out with Team Plasma on their pirate ship, Remen the Crobat asserts dominance against lesser versions of himself and turns out to be a great counter to most of their Pokemon. And man oh man, are there ever infinite people. Then more come over, and then more and more. Heading back to Route 6, we can now pick up our next encounter, and ironically enough, we can technically make it an overworld one with these fake Pokeballs, giving us a Fungus who I name Renui. It's supposed to be a play on Regenerator, even though that's unfortunately her hidden ability. Regardless, she has a sassy plus special defense and minus speed nature, pretty damn good. And I purposefully caught her in an Ultra Ball to ruin the congruency. Definitely a good alternative to Roserade if we ever need additional bulk. Along the way, Covanta finally evolves fully into a Weezing, a Pokemon I love using so much. It can be incredibly fun to work with, so let's see what he's got. Making our way through the beautiful Chargestone Cave, we next arrive in Mistralton City, the location of the next gym. Before that though, we can grab the Sharp Beak in the airport, great for Remond, and while training up, we have another full evolution as Browning evolves into a Garbodor, who I'm hoping to make an efficient wall. Is there Gigantamax in this game? Please? Oh, damn it. I accidentally talked to the metal guy and... jeez. Man, oh man, how many medals did we get? What am I, Michael Phelps? Well, given that we can't get Flamethrower or Thunderbolt for Weezing yet, 2 really cool coverage options for the next gym that you can only get basically at the end of the game, we can at least use the Move Tutor to get a good move for Swalot. It's time for the 6th gym leader, Skyla, the Flying Specialist. Now the obvious answer here would be our rollout strat, but Scolopede's part bug typing makes a miss in this battle completely devastating. It's not worth the risk, plus Skarmory's insane defense might add difficulty. Instead, I lead with Browning, who's female and therefore can't get attracted by Swoobat. I go for Sludge Bomb off the bat after Heart Stamp did a 3rd on us, and we get the poison, which amazingly puts it right in range of another to KO after she did bring us below half. Next up is Swanna, a super powerful threat, especially with its big pecs. That's its ability, not me just saying it has a strong beak, nor referring to its pectoral muscles. So I switch into Crobat to eat an Air Slash up with the help of Leftovers. I then go for Confuse Ray on her, but she makes it through to hit us again. Feeling safer with it confused, I switch in Awi, but we get hit again. On the next turn, she finally hits herself, and then I can unleash my secret weapon. Thunder Punch that I got from the Move Tutor, 4 times super effective to shock that bird out of the skies. Her final Pokemon is Skarmory, and I continue using our only super effective move against it, and she missed a Steel Wing at one point, so we brought her to just a sliver before she healed fully. Gluttony helps our Citrus Berry activate early though, and it took 8 Thunder Punches to take her down, none of which paralyzed her somehow. Damn, that was tedious, but we beasted through that. We left our treasure at the end of the runway. Runway, runway, a technical machine on the runway.
Alright, I get it!
Aw man, it's trash. Oh jeez, they followed me. That actually scared me. On Route 7 north of Mistralton, we can get our next encounter, a 5% chance to find Seviper, which I nicknamed Biogen. Checking its nature, Adamant, a stellar mixed attacker with 100 base stats in both attacking stats, and we get +1 and minus the other. Oh well, we should be able to make it work as I really want to make use of a Seviper. Making our way up the Celestial Tower, we can find the Will-O-Wisp TM, should be great for Wheezing, and the Shadowclaw TM too, before finding the X-Scissor TM on Route 7, which I can't wait to give Tervita for extra power. Oh boy, a free flight over to Lentimus Town. Well, it's time to get our final encounter of the game, as in the Reversal Mountain area we can find a Skorupi, which I decide to catch in a Master Ball as, well, hey, the colors kind of match. I name her GFL, and no, it doesn't stand for what you're thinking, but that could work too. It also has battle armor, which means it can't get crit, which is huge in Nuzlocks. I'm gonna replace Garbodor for now to give it a whirl. Further ahead, the spooky house nearby offers us the Shadow Ball TM and also unceasing nightmares. Before, Undella Town, that's better. A nice tropical paradise.
Oh no.
Oh, okay, she's not here yet. Alright, it's time to try something out. I'm gonna add Seviper to our team, and using the muscle band I got from the Battle Subway and having fully EV'd her, let's try to take on Hugh. Biogen also learned Poison Jab at level 42, and wham, it does 3/4 on his Unpheasant, and he just used Razor Wind, so another does the job. In comes his now fully evolved Samurott, which suffers the same fate in 2 hits thanks to the first one poisoning and bringing it just in range of the second, with us only getting hit with a resisted reversal since it only has Aqua Jet as a stab move in this battle. His final Pokemon is Simisage, and, well, the result there was obvious. Go Biogen, go! Man, I feel like for how beautiful and nicely designed it is, Lacunosa Town is really underutilized. All you can do here is basically get the metronome item, which is pretty cool, but I mean, come on now. Alright, the moment you've all been waiting for. Upon the village bridge stands my arch nemesis, who I have a bone to pick with, Gentleman Stonewall. He's killed my Pokemon before, so we need revenge. Against his Durant, I lead with Covanta, and we immediately miss burning it 2 turns in a row. Why? Now this Durant has Hustle, so it's even more powerful than usual, so burning it is key, which we do get on the 3rd turn. Now I can switch into Tervita, and we miss Rock Tomb too. Damn, do all of our Pokemon have Hustle? Before we later hit it, but are brought below half before we can dig it into the Netherworld. His second and last Pokemon is Lucario, and this thing kept swords dancing like a madman, but never actually attacked us. I was very scared, but burning it was definitely a precautionary measure before Remen could KO with Fly. Up yours, Stonewall. Hey, the legendary Virizion. Good to see you, bye. Arriving in Opelucid City, the futuristic version in Black 2, I do a bit of team reworking, replacing Roserade with Skorupi for now, as I feel it's a better fit for the gym as a backup just in case. While training up, we have another evolution as GFL evolves into a monster Drapion. I cannot wait to use this thing. The 7th gym leader is Drayden, the Dragon Specialist, and he leads with a Druddigon against Covanta. I accidentally leveled Remond up a level too high for this battle unknowingly, so we won't be able to use him. We land the burn on the first turn this time, and it is laughable how much damage it can do on us now. Wheezing is such a good physical wall, taking effectively no damage due to leftovers across 2 turns and KOing him in 2 Sludge Bombs. In comes Flygon next, actually a big threat as a ground type with Earth Power, but with Levitate I'm feeling safe and land the burn on it as well, although we missed the first attempt. He then Dragon Tails us into Tervita, not a great matchup, so I switch into Covanta again, predicting the Earth Power with Levitate. That means free leftovers recovery for us and burn damage for him at no cost. I decide to stay in and Sludge Bomb him even though it's resisted, and we get the job done in 2 more. His final Pokemon is a beastly Haxorus with Mold Breaker, but no ground moves, so I'm not worried about not having Levitate anymore. I am worried about him Dragon Dancing though, which he does, but we do land the burn to soften that effect. Sludge Bomb does over half before his berry activates, and then he Dragon Tails us out of there and gets a crit below half. Uh-oh. In comes Tervita again, and he hits a slash and crits us below half again. No way. I do hit the Rock Tomb to drop his speed though, but then he Hyper Potions, but I knew he would, so I stay in and X-Scissor does over half with the help of the burn. I then switch into GFL, and for some reason I had Battle Armor in mind as he goes for Slash and gets a crit through it due to Mold Breaker to slam us below half. But then a Night Slash does him in from there. I am so dumb. For some reason my only thought was Levitate, not Battle Armor with regard to Mold Breaker, but hey. It worked out in the end, even a crit didn't KO us. Man, we've gone this far deathless. At this point, I'm starting to think about if we can maybe get a deathless run here, as this team is putting in work. After a floating pirate ship shoots ice at the city, definitely wasn't on my bingo card, it's time to face Sinzolin, a trainer I think is actually going to be quite challenging indeed. I had no idea how I would get by him in fact. It took me a while, but eventually a strategy came to mind. I lead with Tervita, who I retaught both agility and baton pass. We get agility off and then get confused, but I had attached a Persimberry which snaps us out, and then I knew I could outspeed and baton pass the speed boost to none other than Aoi. He does use a reflect, which isn't good, but I knew I could merely stall it out by starting to stockpile our defenses now that we outspeed. He did confuse us, but I'm feeling pretty confident we can stall that out too with our higher defenses now. And we do, letting Reflect and the confusion go down, then sweeping through his whole team with Fire Punch, with leftovers helping a bunch. Although we did get crit at the last moment by Weavile's Night Slash, which was nerve-wracking, but agility helped us to outspeed even it on the next turn. Let's go. Following that, Drapion absolutely slaps the Shadow Triad around with Dig and X-Scissor against their Poniard and Absol respectively, and for some reason I thought Absol only had Night Slash, not Slash, so that did actually get a bit risky. Ah, the beautiful Marine Tube. No ultra rare Wailord sighting today, but hopefully that's not a bad omen. Well, the final gym city is the tropical beauty of Humalau, and before the final gym I decide to bring Fungus back on the team and Roserade too. With some training, Renui eventually evolves into an Amoonguss, finalizing our ultimate Marlin-destroying team. What, you thought I was joking?
No, don't do it! I'm gonna do it!
Yup. Turns out Renui is a beast against water types. I mean, who would have guessed? Oh, hello, Terrakion. Sorry, I need something more important than you. There we go, the Poison Barb. Finally, we can boost our poison moves. Further to that, in the Seaside Cave, we can also find the Toxic CM too. Beautiful. After GFL carries us through the second Zinzolin fight with the help of Honeclaws and X-Scissor now, we happen upon one of the scariest fights in the entire game. Chorus 2. Electric Boogaloo. Actually, yeah, that kind of works. He does have electric types. Yup, the Steel Trainer, now with an insane team featuring Eviolite, 2 sturdy Pokemon, an air balloon Klinklang. This thing is nasty, and it took forever to think of a strategy for him, but I'm not quite sure any strategy is enough. Let's give this a try. He leads with an Eviolite Sturdy Magneton, and I go in with Aoi. I go for Seed Bomb right away just to break Sturdy, and then he paralyzes us immediately. I then try to go for Yawn, but he Volt Switches immediately and crits us below half. We at least do get the Yawn off on the incoming Magnezone though, and the range is incredibly close, but my calcs tell me we should live a discharge, and we do on just 10 HP in the red before leftovers and land the crucial Seed Bomb to break its Sturdy as well, before it falls asleep. Holy, I can't believe we made it through that. Here, I now send in Biogen and go for Coil to raise our attack and defense, but Magnezone wakes up immediately and paralyzes us, but I had attached a Cherry Berry. I now go for 4x super effective Dig, ending that thing, then in comes Behem, a Psychic type against this team, as if Steel wasn't bad enough. Fortunately, we also have Crunch, and with our increased attack, can one-hit KO it. Beautiful. His Metang then also gets wrecked by Dig, and in comes Klinklang. I know I need to break its air balloon, so I hit it with Crunch before it uses Shift Gear, but with our plus defense, I'm feeling confident we can live a gear grind, but he actually Shift Geared again, so Dig lands and KOs. Finally, his Magneton comes in, and with Sturdy broken, can't do a thing against a quad effective Dig, completing the sweep by Biogen. That setup from Aoi was crucial. Wow, who'd have ever thought a Swalot and Seviper would save the day? Not me. After some legendary madness ensues, including the series' first fusion Pokemon, technically, it's time for the ultimate Team Plasma battle against its leader, Ghetsis. His team is always terrifying as it's incredibly versatile. I'm pretty sure we can get through it, but wanting to keep our deathless streak alive, I'm not too certain about that aspect. He leads with a Cofagrigus, and I get GFL out there. Because his Cofagrigus only has resisted moves, or moves we're immune to, it's a great chance to get a good start on the battle, hitting him to the red with Crunch repeatedly, including when he healed, to take it down eventually with relative ease. This then brings in Seismitoad as expected, a big threat for our whole team, apart from Covanta with Levitate for the Earthquake prediction, then Renewey now that I know he'll switch to Muddy Water, which we resist. Although he missed his first and then landed one, then we land the 4x super effective Giga Drain to demolish him. This brings in Electros, a bulky Pokemon with no weaknesses, and I know I want to put it on a timer, so I stay in against Flamethrower knowing even a crit wouldn't KO in order to get a Toxic off. Now I can switch to Awi, our best bulky option against it, to battle it out with Fire Punch, eventually getting the KO with just 41 HP remaining. Close one, that was quite the duel. In comes Drapion next with Earthquake of all things, so I go back into Covanta for the prediction, but he went for Night Slash. Oh. Then he hits another and gets a crit to just 44 HP before leftovers, and then our burn misses. Are you kidding me? Such an incredibly unfortunate sequence that was. Now what? I decide there's no other option but to stay in as he hits us again, and no crit. But we missed the burn again. Why? Why is this my life? I now make the switch into Biogen, and no crit, but the main thing is I want to bait the Earthquake so I can get a safe switch into Remond. But he goes for Night Slash again. What is going on? Well, nothing to do but use Fly and hope for no crit when we land, and we do just less than half, and he crits us to just 3 HP. What is actually going on here? My only option left really is to switch into Biogen, and he doesn't get the crit. Then we outspeed amazingly for the dig KO. Yes, we got the range. Biogen, you legend. In comes his insane Hydreigon next, and with no other option left, I just go for Poison Jab. And Biogen, I can't believe it, a straight up Poison Jab crit to one-hit KO. Unbelievable. In comes his final Pokemon, Toxicroak, and Biogen, can you do this? I go for Dig, and he can't hit his attack, and then foolishly goes for Sucker Punch on the second turn while we're still underground. Never seen that before. And then we hit it, but it barely doesn't KO on a sliver, but I know now we could use it again, getting hit by Sucker Punch to 34 HP and then landing the final blow. Oh man, Deathless, I can't believe it. Our team was hurt bad. Well, on Route 23 we can finally pick up the Flamethrower TM, and man is it ever late in game, before tackling the long and perilous Victory Road. At the end stands our rival Hugh for one last battle. Against his Unpheasant, I go with GFL, and I was really hoping he'd go for Swagger on us after I got a Hone Claws off, and he did, perfect, which means we're now at +3, and our Lumberry heals the confusion, so we're free to now unleash with Crunch to sweep through his entire team. Although his Bouffalon did survive one surprisingly and hit us hard with a super effective Earthquake, which thankfully wasn't a crit. I did not think he'd survive a +3 stab 80 power Crunch, but damn, that thing is a beast. For winning, Hugh finally gives us the Thunderbolt TM, should be stellar for Weezing to get some more coverage. With that, we've now made it to the Univore Region Pokemon League. After making some tough team decisions, I decide to bring Turvita the Scolipede back into the fray and allow Biogen some much deserved rest. After fulfilling the rest of our EVs and getting any remaining items and TMs we might need, it's time for the Elite Four. The first Elite Four member is Chantal, the Ghost-type trainer, and I'm sure you can guess what our answer to her is. That's right, GFL. The only serious way her Cofagrigus can hurt us is with Will-O-Wisp, but I had a Rostberry on anyway, although she just went for Shadow Ball, so after a Hone Claws, I use Expert Belt boosted Crunch, and it barely doesn't KO on a sliver. Jeez, that thing is bulky. Shadow Ball hits us to 2/3 or so, and knowing she's gonna full restore anyway, I take the opportunity to Hone Claws again, which not only gives us enough power to get the one-hit KO on it, but all 3 of her remaining Pokemon too. Now that's what I like to see. The second Elite Four member is the Dark-type expert Grimsley, definitely a tougher one for us, especially with a Ground-type monster like Crocodile, but I came up with my best strategy and went for it. Against his lead Liepard, I go with Turvita, tanking the Fake Out, and then immediately outspeeding and one-hit KOing it with Stab super effective X-Scissor from there. This brings in Bisharp as planned, for which I have the ultimate strategy. I move tutored superpower of all things on Turvita, slicing him in half with a 4x super effective move. Let's go. In comes his Scrafty next, and we have a great counter in Covanta, tanking Crunch and landing the burn on him on the next turn. Rock Tomb can't do much on us with Leftovers help, and now I switch into Remond, hoping he doesn't Rock Tomb again, and was just trying to lower our speed. And that was indeed the case, as we eat up Crunch and land a massive power fly to take that thing down, getting some extra burn damage on him while in the air. Then, in it comes, the big threat, Crocodile. I go into our one answer, Renewy, knowing he won't use a ground move, and bam, the plan works as our Rocky Helmet hurts her, and then she hits us hard with Earthquake, but now I can get the Giga Drain off, but nope, it doesn't do enough somehow, leaving it in the red. I know he's gonna full restore though, so I go for another and then just have to hope for no crit, and nope, we're left just at half after another one takes it down and gives us some recovery. Nicely handled, I'd say. The third Elite Four member is Caitlyn, the Psychic Trainer, normally a huge threat against the Poison team, but we have one singular answer, our part Dark-type Drapion. Knowing Musharna's only threat against us was Yawn, I use Hone Claws, get hit by it, then on the next turn have our Chesto Berry wake us up, so now I can begin to sweep through her entire team with a stab super effective expert belt boosted 80 power move. Amazing how one Pokemon can turn the biggest threat into the smallest. Alright, it's time for the last Elite Four member, Marshall, the Fighting Expert. And with Stone Edge everywhere and Guts on 2 of his Pokemon, along with Throw having Bulldoze of all things, his team is actually a massive threat. And even Weezing's burning capabilities won't be much help, although I do lead with him. I decide to just engage in a slugfest with Throw with Sludge Bomb, and of course, we poisoned the Guts Pokemon first turn. Yikes. We eventually bring it down to the red, but he does full restore, kind of a good thing though, as it gets rid of his Guts boost by healing status. In the end, we're left with good health remaining as we take him down, but then in comes Conkeldurr, and this thing I do not want a status at all, as it is powerful beyond measure. So I send out Renewy, and he uses Bulk Up. I was not expecting that. I go for Giga Drain as he uses another, only doing a third damage. Stone Edge then slams us to just a third, and we bring him down to a quarter before his berry helps him up to half. I cannot take another, so I have to switch into Covanta again, but wham, Stone Edge hits and brings him to the red. Yikes. My only option here really is to go into GFL, and he finally misses one. Yes. I then hit him with a dig, and it does like nothing, but he misses Hammer Arm too. But that wasn't to take him out or anything, that was just to bait the Hammer Arm for a switch into Remond, which works and hopefully gives us the range on Fly, and we don't have to worry either way as Remond comes through with the crit for extra assurance. Yes. His next Pokemon is Sock, for which I send in Awi, who duked it out with him for a little while, but it was not enough, so I go back into GFL. Rock Slide does not much, then Dig barely doesn't KO. We tank the next Brick Break though, and can land the final blow with X Scissor. His final Pokemon is Mienshao, and boy is our team ever hurt at the moment, but I go into Remond baiting the fighting move, and it works as we can then outspeed even as something as fast as that with Fly, but then he goes for Bounce in the most 300 IQ play I've ever seen from an AI. Damn. I'm stuck going for Return now, but then he goes for Bounce, so right back at you, pal. I get up in the air for Fly afterward, so he comes down and can't hit us, and we can devastate him with a final hit. Whew. Well, it's time. The final battle, the champion of the Unova region, Iris, with an unfathomably versatile and powerful team. There's not a whole lot of strategizing we can do, but with my best plan in place, let's make it happen. She leads with the Hydreigon of all things, so I go in with our starter, Turvita. We outspeed with Stab, Expert Belt boosted X Scissor, but it's not enough somehow, and she responds with the Flamethrower, and Turvita tanks it on just 5 HP on a sliver. Jeez. Fortunately, our next one gets the range after she heals though. Then comes Druddigon, for which I switch into Awi. Our Gluttony Citrus Berry helps us to outdo him over time with Ice Punch, eventually landing the KO thanks to our plus speed nature at 2/3 health. But then in comes a big threat, Aggron, a part Steel type with Earthquake of all things. So I switch in Covanta, but she went for a Totemize to raise her speed. Interesting. Double Edge then crits us hard to half before I got a Flamethrower off. Damn, I was not expecting that crit. I land another to bring her right to the red, and I thought she would heal again here, but she doesn't, and we survive on just 22 HP in the red before the KO. Sheesh. Then in comes Haxorus. Uh-oh. I switch into Remond, and she Dragon Dances. I immediately go for Confuse Ray, and she missed Dual Chop, so we land it. Nice. She then makes it through for another dragon dance as we take to the sky, and she snaps out while we're in the air. But then, Remen gets another crit, but not quite enough as she survives on a sliver. Why couldn't that have just KO'd? Now here, I thought for sure she'd heal. I was confident that she had 3 full restores, but apparently she doesn't, and wham, we get smashed to a sliver before landing Confuse Ray. But hopefully this will allow me a chance to get Renewey out there safely, but nope, it smashes us to less than half with X-Scissor, but our Rocky Helmet comes in clutch with the recoil KO. Then in comes Lapras, and I am running out of options fast. I go into Aoi again, tanking Ice Beam on just over half our remaining health, so I can get 1 Thunder Punch off, and we get the paralysis. Oh man, that might just save us, as Surf slams us to a sliver. We now have 4 Pokemon on a sliver health. This is so incredibly dangerous. I switch in Renewey now, and she stays paralyzed, so Giga Drain hits, and barely doesn't KO on a sliver again. Why? She then makes it through for Ice Beam, and even Renewey survives on a sliver. Now this right here was the biggest decision of my life. Switch into Drapion or stick it out with Renewey with Archeops coming out later. After running the calcs, I decide I want to opt for the Deathless potential and switch into GFL, and unfortunately she does make it through for the Ice Beam, but then we can at least KO her on the next turn. Then, in comes Archeops, an absolute powerhouse. I go for Crunch, knowing we have an 80% chance to bring it below half, which would activate its defeatist ability and lower its attack enough to the point where we should win. But bam! GFL clutches it with a crit anyway. Worry no more, the Queen has saved us all. Well, we did it. We beat a Hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Black 2 with only poison types and did so deathless. I can't believe we actually managed that, as I was not thinking poison would be a type that would allow that in almost any game, but honestly, many of our encounters surprised me with their coverage and how well they performed. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey, and don't forget to subscribe if you did enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time for another challenge video.